Bam. We are live. Cool. This is fun.
Hey, Pete.
Hey, how are you? This is Chandra, everybody. Do you guys know Chandra? We all do.
And if they don't, we have two other podcasts that they can
That's right.
listen to. They're really
That's
great.
right. Yeah, they are great. We have a great time chatting all the time. It's easy to chat with you. You've actually helped the show out quite a bit. We've had a number of guests because of you. Most recently was Crystal and Chris Hanna, but they were awesome on the show. It's always good to have you around. Here comes Michelle Bell right here. Here's our guest.
Yay, Busy Belle.
There
Hello.
she is.
Hi.
Hey.
Good to see you.
Are you back in New York?
I'm in Los Angeles. So I live in Los
Okay.
Angeles, actually.
Oh,
Yeah,
you live
Oh,
in
okay.
Nice.
moved here a few years back. So yeah, based in Los Angeles.
Well, we are live. So do me a favor, so we can start the show. I'm going to point at you and you're going to say, "This is Michelle Bell," and you're watching the Break It Down show. You ready?
Awesome. Sure.
All right, do it. Bam.
This is Michelle Bell, and you're watching the Break It Down show.
What's cooler than that? The Break It Down show. And I've got Chandra and I talking with you. We met you briefly at NAM, and Chandra was great enough to connect us together. You work in the music industry. Her email address is at RocNation. So if you guys know at all what Roc Nation is, holy cow! But that's just the tip of the iceberg. You've worked with and written songs with some of the most iconic people of the last 20 years. When you look back at your career, where you are now, and like the musical credits you have, does it amaze you?
I feel super blessed and thankful, and yeah, sometimes I think when I go back to New York and I'm super overwhelmed and it's all crazy, I'm like, I have no idea how I did this for so long, but yeah, I'm grateful for the journey. It's been really fun.
Well, everybody else is always amazed when they hear about you. So how do you handle their amazement? You just stay pretty grounded from what I've seen.
Yeah. There are people who are, there's so many different levels to in the music business, and I'm just still happy to be a part of it after all this time. So yeah, I think gratitude is pretty much the place that I operate out of. It's there are people who are doing a heck of a better than I am, and there are people who would just love to get started. So I'm just thankful to still have a place in it. Yeah, pretty much.
One of the things I've noticed with folks like you who've done fantastically well in music, and that we have to admit, like you really have done something incredible. But the music world is so peaky in its brilliance. Like if you were to look at Rock and Roll Mountain, way up there somewhere is Prince and Paul McCartney. And so it's easy to be modest and be like, hey, listen, I have done some things, but oh my gosh, look how high up this mountain goes, And so there's a lot of deference to other people, even if you're peers. Like we had J.R. Robinson has been on the show, Nathan East have been on the show, and these guys have played for the biggest names that have ever played on the stages before. But they're like, yeah, and I play drums, or I work with this person, but gosh, on Rock and Roll Mountain, here I am I'm way up there, but gosh, there's so many people above me. Is that kind of what the vibe feels like for you?
Yeah, I think it's we don't really see how far we've come, or how, we're always just thinking of what our next thing is going to be, right? That's everybody in life. No matter what you do, you meet one goal, and then there's still more to come. So I think that's how I see it, is there's just always still so much left to accomplish and to do, and more people to help. So yeah.
So
That's
for those listening that don't know, we had an incredible panel at the NAM show, and so I got to know Michelle a little bit better through that, and so I might be referencing that, and that video is available online, so we can post it for you after this. But I'm just curious. So what is that next level for you right now? What are you focusing on?
Right now, just really signing great acts. I've been at Roc Nation for coming up on a year here pretty soon, and just really excited to find and develop new acts, new songwriters, producers, and yeah, just excited to kind of help people in their career moving into the next phase. So that's really what I'm excited about now, is just developing new talent working with new people. And yeah, met some great people at NAMM
I was
too.
gonna say the line after our panel to meet with you was ridiculous. I think we had to grab that big hook that they have on the Apollo Theater stage and like try to drag you off, because it was so not for a bad reason, but for a good reason. It was like everybody wanted to talk to Michelle. Did you end up connecting with anybody of note? I mean, that you're like, oh yeah, I think we might be able to do something.
I did. I heard some really good music, and it's cool. People emailed. I haven't had a chance to go through all the emails yet, so give me a little bit of time there. But no, it's been great. I was able to connect with some really good people, and it's just always nice to encourage people in this journey. I think.
You were extremely encouraging, and yes, you gave out your email, so the listeners here might want that too. But to the opportunity to be discovered is really strong, and that's what people are looking for, especially at the NAMM show. So it was really, really so cool of you to be able to give them that kind of encouragement. I think everybody and the people that followed up with me afterwards were just thanking me for bringing the opportunity to the stage, because they had no idea how open everybody was going to be about hearing about their specific circumstances and giving them consideration. I think it's hard to get that airtime and to be properly evaluated after a show like that.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think it's good for people to do that. You always think, is anything going to happen when you go to these conferences? And that's what you go for, is to get the knowledge and to network as much as you can. So it's worth it in most situations.
Yeah, you never know. And this was an odd year, just because last year NAMM was online, and now people are coming back. COVID was still a thing, and so I'm so glad that we took, the effort I know NAMM was also very grateful that we made it happen. And Pete was there. I saw you in the audience for that, Pete, with
That's
with
right.
your entourage. Thank you
Yeah, the
for
Brick and Town
coming.
show crew was there for sure. Yeah, it's neat to have these things for the audience who doesn't know. Like NAMM is this conference with 100,000 people in probably 30 different buildings or something ridiculous like that. It's so big because the conference hall has a conference hall attached to a conference hall attached to an arena, and and multiple hotels. It's this massive thing that if you were to walk from one end of it to the other, I mean, it's exhausting. It's so big, and there are so many names. I mean, you're going to see Stevie Wonder. We saw Lee Oscar. Here's a guy from the band War. If you guys don't know who
Oh,
War is,
wow.
and he's just in his booth selling his harmonicas. And here's this guy, he's a legend, and there he is right there, and you can just talk to him. So it is incredible. You never know what you're going to come across, but you are going to come across something at NAMM.
True.
Yeah. So, yeah. And for those who don't know NAMM, it's National Association of Music Merchants. It's, big music industry trade show that focuses mostly on the instruments, but it's grown into a conference. And so that's why it's exciting. We're able to add, panels and discussions and bring people in all over the world for it. So it's a really cool thing to be part of. So glad that you guys experienced that with me this year, and it kind of resulted in where we are right now, talking to each other again. I love it.
I was looking at the charts from August '85. That's the year that Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill debuted, right? And it's not in the top 40, but the acts on that thing, you got Billy Joel, Madonna, Bruce Springsteen, The Motels, all Prince, all these different people are making music. And maybe it's the old man in me, but it seems like music is very homogenous right now. I know that that's not true, but when you think about like how frequently you hear something, you're like, that sounds like somebody else. When you're doing A&R and you're trying to sign new acts and all these different things, how are you finding the same thing? It's got to be different for you because
Like
you're
it's
in the
derivative of something else, or what do you mean?
yeah, like there's just a lot of it. Like for a long time, everybody did the trap sound. That's kind of going away. Before that, it was a bottom end driven everything. But you when you hear the top songs, I can't tell the difference between. I don't know. I don't want to say a bunch of acts, but there's a lot of acts that sound very similar.
Yeah, I think I think it's kind of we're in a space where there's so much music out there, right? Anyone can just go up on and put music on Spotify. We're not just sort of beholden to what the majors put out, right? So I think there's an algorithm that we're finding where whether it's beats for sure, and in some instances are definitely kind of sounding the same, or things that, are playing on the radio. It's always kind of been that way, though, I think, right? Where it's a style that people are listening to, and if that's the popular style, that's what we're going to make more of. And then, every now and then somebody will break out and break the mold, and we'll start to hear something different. But I think they're just like little pockets and clusters of, kind of the same thing. But what I'm loving is that I think, the thing that hurts us, songwriters and, musicians, is streaming, but it's also the thing that gives us the opportunity to finally, for once, hear other artists and give new music a chance, or just kind of find the things that speak to us. It's strange. I don't, I think the radio, even the way that we listen to the radio now, has changed so much. It's not, even listening to ads, I forget that people, you don't necessarily have to listen to ads if you don't want to, right?
Mhm.
So I think that everything's kind of changing in that way. But I think it's easier to seek out kind of what you want to hear now, as opposed to just putting on, top 40. Even top 40 could go from singer songwriter to kind of a pop rock song to rap to dance to, it's not what it used to be. It used to kind of be one thing, one sound, one or two sounds that were kind of in top 40. But I think we're seeing a lot of change with streaming, and I welcome that for sure.
I'm curious about streaming and where you go for new music discovery. Pete and I have worked in the past with Troopify and some other platforms, and I'm just curious: are you have some go-to places where you're looking for talent?
Um, Everywhere. I'm not an avid TikToker like I think a lot of
Mhm.
the A&Rs are. I kind of have my own little weird thing where I think if it goes on TikTok, by the time it gets to Instagram, then it's like you might still have time to catch it and get that artist. Once it goes to like Twitter or Facebook, it's over, right? It's, kind of saturated at that point. But yeah, everywhere. It's people send me stuff. I listen to a lot of KCRW here in Los Angeles. That's my favorite station, I think, for Shazamming and just finding cool things to kind of hear that are outside of the fray. I'd love, NPR, but yeah, it could really be anywhere. YouTube, SoundCloud, definitely Spotify, Apple. I'm a huge fan of Apple One Music. I love that they kind of have everything from around the world. So yeah, just a little bit of anything.
So you
However,
just have your Shazam just ready to go, huh? Because like when some when something comes on, you're like, I need to catch that while before it flies by.
true. And then every time I'm traveling or I'm in a different city, I always try to listen to the local radio, because every
Point.
city plays something different than what we're going to hear in Los Angeles or New York. So if I'm in Florida, I'm, listening to something different, constantly Shazamming. If I'm in Atlanta, always Shazamming, Texas, Chicago, wherever I go, it's, yeah, a good idea to always have the Shazam ready for sure.
I love it. It's like we're Shazamming, we're Googling, who would have thought these terms would be a thing?
True.
What are some of the other terms that we use a lot? Shazamming, Googling,
Social, I like to say social mediating, because
meeting? No.
I'm social mediating right now. Hang on, give me a minute, like because
Is that what
it's
you're
so appropriate.
mediating between two social parties or
Yeah, or I'm posting, so I've got to post to Instagram and I got to post to
posting?
Twitter,
Yeah.
like, and so you've got multiple posts, and so you can say posting, but I often say I'm social mediating right now. Like I'm working on these social media channels. My girlfriend came up with one. She talked about how she was resorting so hard, like instead of
Resorting?
settling, she was resorting. It was a higher level of like, if you go to the resort and you stay there and you're just crushing your resort goals, you're resorting.
Ooh.
Yes.
I
Love
think I need to hang out with her a lot more.
Oh, you do, for sure.
She sounds awesome. The other thing about the panel that I was surprised about was how many of the like how many success stories have been like from Craigslist, for example.
Yeah.
We talked about Craigslist and LinkedIn and some of these platforms where you wouldn't have necessarily thought, oh, I'm going to be able to use that for my, well, with LinkedIn for career, but not so much with Craigslist. But you had some pretty good stories about Craigslist. Were you and Chris connected? Chris Hannibit connected through? I remember there was some short story you guys shared.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, I was looking for a studio in LA a few years back and went on Craigslist and found Chris. He, you never know what you're going to get sometimes with people. I actually have not used Craigslist in a while, but Chris is a really good product of that, uh, making a connection there. I'm so glad that we met because his setup was great and we just ended up being longtime friends. I've kind of watched him go from just sort of like, beginner sort of novice studio owner to really successful, sought after music producer. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
and
super
that's Chris
excited.
Hannibit of Studio DeVille, and I think he's going to be on the show.
He has been on the
He's
show.
been on the show. I'm sorry I
Yeah, we
missed
went
it.
we
I'll have
went
to
down
check it
there,
out.
yeah. Yeah,
Right on.
it's super cool. I've, as we're talking, I've been grabbing some links, and so I've gotta do, I've gotta talk about Sage Logan. Sage is my girlfriend's boyfriend's, girlfriend, and so she's a performer, she's up and coming, and, oh my gosh, she's so incredible, and I got her into NAMM, and I'm like, "You need to go into NAMM and just meet people," because she's got, she's got the education for it, she's got the chops, she's got music out, and, oh gosh, I just love to hear her sing. And then the other thing I wanted to say is another place you can discover new music, and you need to have Shazam ready, is at Dodger Stadium because my buddy DJ Severe is always trying to break new bands. And you think about that audience there, anybody could be in the house that night and hear something, put a Shazam, thing up in the air, and like who is this new person? And he loves to break new acts that way. So it's really, at least in LA, it could be anywhere.
Nice. Yeah, you're absolutely in a stadium. You really have an advantage to see how the crowd gets excited. So yeah, that's really smart.
Yeah, yeah. The other thing, so it was Craigslist. What do you think it now? Like, is it TikTok? Is it Instagram? Where do you go to find something? And then I guess the other thing that's really magical about this time is that you can discover something that's been around forever. Like when Bonnie Raitt won her Grammy for New Artist, she's like, "I've been around for 20 years." It's like, where you guys been? I found this guy Bella Mosingo. He did a cover of Lionel Richie's "Stuck on You," and he's a South African, or he's somewhere from Africa, and it seems this beautiful version of it. I can't get enough of it. And this guy's got to be 50 years old, but he's been around forever, and you just don't have access to it if you're just looking at records because you would never even buy that record. It may not be in the store if the buyer wouldn't buy it. But today you go into YouTube and you type something in and you discover something incredible.
True, true. Yeah, I think again, it just goes back to what you're looking for, there's so much great music out there, and it just depends on what you want to hear, whether you're in your car or wherever you're listening to music. I think there are so many good places to search for it, and it's great that, anybody can just be heard and put their music out, and it's always refreshing to come across someone new and discover them as opposed to them already, just kind of being pushed at you. It's nice to discover new talent.
I think that right there gives people hope. Musicians have for so long had to be scrappy and put themselves out there and play, just work so hard to try to get discovered. And now there's so many new tools for it that were never available back in the day. I mean, you just had to gig and hope that an A&R person showed up for a band that played before you or something. So I think it's incredible. And so I wanted to ask you about, okay, so we have the music discovery piece and that you're really focusing on that for your next level. What about your songwriting? What's going on with that? Are you able to, do you have any time still to focus on that?
It's interesting. I just had another A&R, who's a good friend, who was telling me that he's doing a lot of writing now, and I'm not really as much anymore. I feel like a lot of the opportunities that I have, are, I'm locked in at Roc Nation and just and loving presenting and creating opportunities for other writers. I mean, not saying that I don't still have it. Yep, I'm sure that I do, but at the end of the week, I like to have my Saturday and Sunday off, and it's nice to do that. And I feel like it took a long time to kind of get to this place where, I think it's okay. It's, I don't know if it's gone forever, but I think that there's a point where it's nice to focus in on something and to I feel like I can still be creative in this way, whether it's creating opportunities for my writers or finding ways to make money, or just developing with marketing and digital, and coming up with other ideas to push and to move the needle for new talent. And that's to me just as creative and fun as finding the B chorus, or what's the bass line going to be, or the harmonies. It's a different way of being creative. So yeah, not writing as much these days. Every now and then I'll wake up with a melody idea, but I'm not necessarily going in the studio and laying it down. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'm sure, I mean, you've worked with you've contributed a lot to certain artists, and I'm sure that they're always wanting to give you a call for more whenever they need it. So it's just a matter of, I guess, where your focus is, and in keeping with what you said at the NAMM show, it sounds like you're super happy at Roc Nation, and that there's so much going on and so much opportunity, and your focus now is on giving back, and and creating opportunity for other people, and bringing new songwriters up and discovering new talent. And I mean, I think it's like kind of like the more of a mentorship role, where you've gotten to this point where you can really give back and have other people shine, and you can be part of that, and it's fulfilling. Is that how you feel? Do you feel it's really fulfilling when other people are getting opportunities through you?
I do. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's wonderful to. I remember what it feels like, as a songwriter, to
Mhm.
see the email come in, with an opportunity, or with a song placement, or something with the good news. Is always great to hear. So,
Now
yeah.
you're the bearer of good news. You're the one that gets to deliver the good news to people. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a really good feeling. Definitely very fulfilling to help people, and especially because I know how great that feels. So yeah, it feels good to give back in that way for sure.
So you said you like to have a weekend to do your own stuff. Is there anything, do you have any certain hobbies that you love to do? Do you like to hike in the area, or go to the beach, or like what do you enjoy doing?
Oh, I love the beach. The beach is just awesome. I'm, kind of an outside person. It's interesting. I have a funny love of nature. I love to go to the parks, and I'm not too big on hiking. I've got a little bit of a weird height thing. I don't love heights too much, so I'm not a big hiker. But
You're
yeah,
not
I
gonna go up by the Hollywood sign and mess
no,
around.
no, not too much unless I'm in the car. Yeah, no, but love the outdoors, and just being originally from Ohio, I think that's what that is. But yeah, love the beach, and California is just such a gorgeous state. So anytime I can get out and do a road trip, there's just so many places to see out here that are just so nice. Whether you're going north or south, or anywhere. Not to do a California commercial, but it is pretty awesome. So
Well,
there's always a lot to see.
Pete comes my way a lot, so you can just jump in the car next
That's right.
time he comes up, and hang out here in the San Francisco Bay for a while. It's
Yeah,
really
totally.
fun, and the wine country nearby, and you're right, California is incredible for being able to do little staycations when you can get away. Pretty cool.
When you look at the different music scenes, Nashville for sure included, obviously New York and LA, what else stands out? Like where is really great music being made right now?
I think the South. I think Atlanta and Nashville, and even Miami is kind of becoming a hub. I think historically we've seen a lot of Latin music kind of coming out of Miami, but now I think it's a shift. I think a lot of people moved over the quarantine, and we're seeing more pop, R&B, and then also sort of this Latin blend that's sort of coming out of Miami also. But yeah, I think those are the really great standout cities. I think even New Orleans, there have been a few people that I've been hearing, area, Louisiana, that are doing something special. But I think the South is always, putting out meaningful lyrics and good melodies. So yeah, that those are some standout cities that I can think of.
And then do you think it seems like becoming a producer is a much more of an entry level position than it used to be? And so you can be like, I don't want to do the artist side. I want to make the music. I want to produce it. Does that follow with what you've experienced? Is producing becoming much more? You used to be like, I want to be the rock star, right? But I don't know that that's true anymore.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think production is really important. I think how people are producing is also really interesting. I think we're finding that there are more people producing together, lots of collaborations. I think on the pop side, we're seeing people who are, you know, maybe some people are playing instruments and some people are programming drums, and or even on the sort of hip hop side where people are creating loops and then somebody makes the beat and then somebody puts it all together and kind of does the editing. And I think the ways that the production is happening is changing, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I think the producers are starting to definitely become as big as the artist. And there are a lot of producers who are making their own albums now and just kind of getting features on the albums as opposed to working on an album and then they're not the star. But yeah, and I think we've seen that with DJs. I think the DJ culture kind of helped to usher that in, whether it was DJ Snake or White Shadow or
Zed.
Zed, and a lot of, yeah, oh my goodness, and
So
Calvin Harris, and just sort of those breakout hit records that led to so many great DJ producers kind of becoming the stars now. I mean, they always have been huge in Vegas and around the world, in Europe, but finally, I think with the albums we're starting to see this um, big area where DJs and producers are the star for.
I think the other thing that's contributed to that is, the onset of home recording. Like when I was working for Avid and Pro Tools, we were really focusing on, launching, because we had the professional line of products and transition from the mix systems to the HD systems. But then there was all the LE line for Pro Tools to be able to get into, the bedrooms of these, fledgling producers. And then today I'm working with Universal Audio. They have a lot of home recording devices that have different DAWs that run on them. And just so many great companies that are Focusrite. I mean, there's so many that you can get and then be able to produce right from your bedroom. And same with podcasting and live streaming and all that. That technology is more available to be able to express yourself. So I agree with you totally. And I'm curious about the like so you're talking about discovering talent, and sometimes talent can get discovered by being featured on a more popular artist song. So does Roc Nation help with that at all? So for example, I'm working with through my client Fishman on this, just got introduced to this reggae group called Coffee. It's her name, but it's a band, and she was featured on a John Legend song, and so that connection right there with John Legend has really helped her get exposure. So do you help find artists to feature on with bigger artists, or how does that all work behind the
We
scenes?
do. We do. I think features are really personal to the artist.
Okay.
Usually they have an idea of who they're looking for or what style they're looking for. It's not very often that an artist will say, hey, let's just find a good singer. Usually they're looking for somebody that they love their album or they connect to their lyrics in kind of way. With hip hop artists, if it's singing hook, more from there for them being kind of open. But typically most artists are gonna want to seek out features with people that they feel really excited about.
I definitely think it's great when a big artist would, give it that opportunity to somebody, because it can completely launch them in a way that it can take years to do, if ever.
Yeah, you know what I think it is? It's a good song though. It always comes back to the
Mhm.
song. We always talk a lot about Rihanna in our meetings because her song "Stay" was with Mickey Echo. Mickey Echo was a relatively new, singer songwriter that not a lot of people are aware of, and she really loved the song, and it was a moment where he said, "Hey, if you want this song, then I'm gonna stay on it," and she loved it so much that she left him on it. And it was a beautiful moment in music history. And so yeah, I think these things can definitely happen. I think it just boils down to the song and to the songwriter. It's always going to be about what the song is first. That's kind of the most important thing, is that it's a good song.
One artist that I think features people a lot and has really been able to show his breadth and scope through those relationships is Ed Sheeran. Like Ed Sheeran, it's amazing. There's been pop and R&B songs and things that I didn't know were even his genre, and now I can think of him in that space more because of those collaborations. So I don't know if you guys had that experience with him, but I feel like there's certain artists that just really have embraced that, and as a result, it shows, how talented they are.
Yeah. Oh, Adam Levine is one of those guys for me. He's been
Oh
on so
yeah.
many features. And he always sounds different too. It
Hmm.
depends on what part he's on. So yeah, it's a good, I think it's a good thing if you can feature on other songs. It kind of, extends the shelf life as an artist also, and gives you new fans that you maybe didn't have before. Yeah.
Exactly. It can really showcase you to a whole new audience, which can grow your popularity. So I am curious about Rock Nation, and I know you're A&R, and you're developing talent and discovering and everything. But there's a lot that company does. So what are all the things that people, you guys are focusing on there? You're doing brand endorsements and other things too, right?
So many things. I mean, the company is just there's a sports division, and
Mhm.
along with branding, there's TV and film and philanthropy, and there's just they do there's in addition to the record label and publishing company, there's just so many philanthropic efforts that they do under the Roc Nation unified brand, which they handle reform and job placement, and just all sorts of great things for the community, on top of having also a liquor brand and cannabis brand and clothing brand, management company, sports management. It's a full service, I guess, sports agency. And then, also kind of making a global footprint around the world. It's a really rich legacy that they've built there. And yeah, it's exciting to be a part of it. I feel like there are a lot of different music companies, but there are a lot of companies that can, I guess, touch so many different aspects of entertainment and just commerce in general. There's an investment wing, and it just a lot of great teams at the
Well,
company.
they'd have to be such an amazing company to be able to win you over, because you're successful in your own right, and to be able to partner with them, seeing the value that adds is really great. It's a big testament to that company that you would work there, and it sounds like they're just doing so many really exciting things. I'll have to keep my eyes out on all of the projects coming out of there.
Yeah, yeah, I
Were you
appreciate
a
that.
Mer-
Thank you
I'm
for
sorry.
saying.
My internet's going out, I think. Say it again, Michelle. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on
No,
you
all
there.
good. Yeah, no, I was just saying thank you. I just said thank you for those kind
Oh,
words.
yeah. Oh, of course.
It's a
Yeah.
lot of fun, and it's great, I think, to have a different perspective as a songwriter. A lot of times it's just the A&R executives aren't always super well versed in music. I think it's one thing to be a huge fan, or you're either a really great business person, but it's kind of rare that you find someone who has been in the trenches and been in the studio and worked with artists, and knows what it's like to suffer for art. I work with that guy Andrew Gould. He's head of publishing, and he says that a lot. Would you go to a doctor that never went to medical school? And
Mhm.
that's I think it's a big step for us, and I'm really excited that they brought me in, because it does make a difference to be able to speak the language to writers and producers, and just kind of talk with them about things that I think a lot of people don't think to discuss. When you're kind of wooing somebody, or telling them about your company, it's a little more than what we can do for you sometimes. And I think new writers and producers are afraid to ask those questions, in regards to what a pub deal really is, and what it entails. And, so it's nice to be able to give that information out.
Well, this is the Break It Down show. So if there's anything you need to break down for people because you just get hit with it all the time, you're welcome to share that with us.
Yeah, let me think about some things I can break down. I always tell people, when you're pitching records, so I think I'd said this at the NAM show, metadata. You might send something into us. You may have sent something to me at the NAM show, and I might not get a chance to listen to it maybe for a month or so, right? And sometimes either the link isn't there anymore, or people give up and think, oh, they didn't like it, so we're just going to take it down now. And you could miss your chance. I could be, at home or working late one day and say, let me go through all this music right now, right here. And if it's not there, or you didn't label it and I've downloaded it, now I don't know, which song goes to which person. It's just like a title and you didn't put the title in the email. I don't know how to find you. Those are really disheartening moments when I have music in the hard drive and I'm like, wow, what is this? This is great. This would be perfect to pitch. And I have no idea who wrote this song. So that happens to us. So metadata, please tag your songs and tag your music so that people know who you are. Put your name in it. You wrote it. It's important to do that. It's a very small thing, but a big thing for us.
I think another thing people need to hear from you, like, when we worked on this show to get this, it took us a while to find a date that worked out, and then we had to be flexible even still. You talk about the pace of your email and text stream and how fast. Like, I know for me, I'll say I'm absolutely intending on doing this, but make sure you follow up with me in a couple of days because it's very easy for this just to get overwhelmed. And I'm just Pete running my own show. I mean, you've got to have a zillion things going on in your email, and then meetings, and then things you intend to get to. Either you don't get to it for a long time, or sometimes it just falls off your plate because you don't know. Talk about the pace of work that you deal with so we can all understand like what it takes to follow up with someone like you, and how do you do that?
Oh yeah. Well, I tell my family, don't group chat me ever. Please don't ever put me in a group chat. It's really daunting to kind of wake up to. Usually there's no less than about 100 text messages, and that's
Oh,
just text. Email is a whole nother thing. And then there's, I had a company before I got to Roc Nation. So I have a, good deal of people that I have to be accountable to, outside of just Roc Nation, and then also having a personal life too. But it's kind of impossible to read 32 text messages. My uncle's like, hey, did you guys see this show last night? And I'm like, guys, no. Plus I'm 3 hours behind you. Sorry, family, they're on the East Coast to be able to see this. That's kind of my starting point. Is in the morning there's at least 100. I try to work my way back, but sometimes in the morning you've got to address the fire. So with text messages, I try to start, let me just address the things that are important, and then leave everyone kind of unread who I will be able to go back and get to. So if I can get it down to about 40 messages by 4 o'clock, then I know those are, kind of personal things I'll get to later. And then, when it comes to email, I do my best to, we have a process where listening is really important. So we, have certain listening folders and emails that are just for listening. And on those days or those hours that we designate, and even at home, I have a good amount of personal time that I spend on listening. But those are days and hours that are designated. So people, if you send something, it might be, Monday at 3 p.m., but I'm not listening till Thursday, and so, yeah, so I think there's this giving up aspect, but that's not necessarily it. It's like, whoo, by the time even now it's 3 p.m., there's still another second half of my day to go. Once we get off the phone, that's going to be emails. And if I'm, as you guys know, if you have put a couple meetings in the middle of that, the day is done at 7:30, and it's like, hey, I've got to eat and try to get to bed too, like everybody else. It's just not enough time in the day. But
Wait, you're
yeah,
human?
yeah, it's
You are?
true.
Wait a
'Cause
minute.
yeah, but
This is new information.
yeah, yeah, and listening it takes time. I try to do listening also when they're different ears. So at work, I'm listening, right? We have our meetings, but listening at home is different ears, because I like to make a playlist of things that I want to circle back to. And that also is a little bit more of a personal ears, that you're going to get there. So I try to give music also more time, because if I'm just looking at the person and thinking about, where's this going to go and what this can be, it's very different than just kind of having it on in the background and connecting it with it that way. And I find that there are songs that maybe I've missed something at work that I'll hear differently at home. And that takes time. It's just, if I've got 10 to 30 songs to go through, it's not, you don't want someone to do the 30-second listen, because sometimes you can miss out that way. So I try to give, full attention when listening, and nobody ever just sends 1 or 2 songs, which is good. You shouldn't just send 1 or 2. You can't really get the gist of a person's songwriting with just one song, one or two songs. So so yeah, it takes time. It takes time to listen and give feedback and go through it. But yeah, if you don't hear from me or from other A&Rs, you have to follow up. And squeaky wheel gets the oil. It never bothers me if someone sends an email again. It's fine. I find that sometimes people on LinkedIn who are selling their marketing services, they will email you at least 15 to 16 times. And I feel like songwriters, we're sensitive. So after about the second time, they're like, I don't want to bother you. And I feel like you have to have the persistence of the LinkedIn digital marketing team. I feel like they need to slow down. Songwriters need to pick it up. It's okay to reach out to someone again, because people are just busy, and we have a very small team. So sometimes it's difficult to even get to the things that I love kind of pursuing, or people that we have signed. It's difficult to stay on top of it. But yeah, it's listening is really the most important part of it. So
how do they deliver their music? Do you want MP3s? Do you want it to already be in a playlist? Like, do you want it on Spotify? Do you want it on SoundCloud? Like, how do you want to receive it to be able to easily build your lists?
Are great. We however you want to send it. I really like SoundCloud, but I like SoundCloud if we can download it. Sometimes people will send SoundCloud, and then if I want to forward it to somebody else, I can't take it out of this big group, and I know that the other A&R isn't going to go through your 30 song list. So that sometimes is, or if they want to play it for someone, they want to download it and have it on their phone or have it in the email. They don't always want to have it available on SoundCloud. So yeah, so as long as I'd say if it's downloadable, that's helpful. And it doesn't matter. Dropbox, Box, Spotify, Disco. I like Disco a lot too. So yeah, however you want to send it is fine.
When you look at the overall process of signing somebody, it used to be like you have these long-term development contracts. That's not the case so much anymore. And you also have to make editorial decisions on where the music industry seems to be going, right? So it's like, hey, you're the 20th person to hand me something like this. Do you have time to give that person guidance and say, like, freshen it up, look for new angles? And then the other thing is, what about the pressure from above? Because at some point you've got to deliver acts that deliver. And so what does that timetable look like?
Yeah, I think the good thing is they value quality at this company. I mean, obviously we have to make money. It's, we're in the business of making money. But I think with the majors, there's, market share, that's what they kind of want, is everything has to be pipeline, everything has to be, for every maybe 5 people, that are having pipeline, maybe one person can be the 6th person can be a development person. But I feel like here there really aren't a lot of rules, and I really like that. I like operating out of that space. I've been really fortunate to find people who do have pipeline and who are my first signing at Roc Nation actually has had the #1 record for the last few weeks now, or almost last few months, with Jack Harlow, First Class, being a big record for him. And that was kind of my first signing. Nicky John Pabon, he has 6 songs on Jack Harlow. It's rare though, that you find these kind of, and he's such a great guy. He's an engineer and also a producer, which is a little different than just kind of signing a straightforward songwriter. It's a little more creative and unique. And, I love that he's a part of a really good team. But yeah, it's, I think there's, I never stress about finding people to make money. I feel like that's always out there. And there's so many people who I get calls from every day who have pipeline and who have songs out there. And it doesn't always mean that I want to sign them either. I like that's not, I feel like we're people, and you want to work with people that you really like, that you believe in them, you believe in the music. And, Andrew and I, we have this thing sometimes where it's like, I can't be the champion that you're going to need me to be. You're going to need a different kind of champion that I can be. And even though you've got a long laundry list of credits, this may not be a good fit. And I feel like some people don't do that. Instead of saying, I'm the person for you, I know this is great, I have to have at least 10 ideas when I meet someone. If I'm going to sign them, I want to be able to know that I can help them make money and just be a good publisher. And sometimes I just think I don't know if I'm the best person for you. Different people need different things. So it's a balance. It's a balance of being able to stay creative and find, things that we love and work with people that we genuinely want to work with, who are great. But yeah, having pipeline is always going to be an important part of, of the business, and having songs placed that are making money. That's a big deal. But I love that it's a little bit of both here.
So, do you have certain genres that you're focused on, and then you have other A&R people for different genres, or how does that work?
Oh no, we have everything. I mean, we can look for
Cool.
everything. We operate like a boutique company, so it's
Yeah.
great to be able to look for everything. That's just really great songwriters. Songwriting is what's going to be important. So just finding great songwriters with great songs. That
And so it doesn't matter if they have any kind of following?
Well, if they're artists,
Yeah.
so we're signing artists, writers, and producers, right? Um, I prefer artists who are writers. So even if they have a huge following, they could have 20 million listeners a month. It really just depends if if you're putting out, it depends on the deal. Again, we want to sign people that we like. But a following is important, I would say, if they are an artist. Because it does come down to money,
Mhm.
signing someone who has 100 followers is not for us, right? And you're just kind of beginning, because we're a publisher, we're not a record label. A record label is a company that's going to develop you and market you and push you, and that's not what we do. Music publishers are royalty collection agents. That's
Mhm.
really what we do. That's the bulk of our work, is collecting royalties and exploiting your catalog to get you more songs, whether that's in licensing or getting you song placements with other artists. So brand new beginning. I just started songwriting person, not going to be. And also, why would you want to sign your publishing over to us? You're not even making any money yet, right? So a
Right.
publisher really can't help until you've kind of gotten a little far where you're kind of helping yourself, where you're saying, I, making a certain amount of money, or I've gotten a certain amount of monthly listeners now, and having somebody just kind of help you push forward, or I'm getting in certain rooms, and now, other writers and producers are asking for me, or record labels are asking for my services. That's when a publisher is really valuable. But when you're just getting started, I mean, even somebody, if you're making $5,000 a month on Spotify, I don't really know that it's really worth it to have a publisher. You get an advance, and what is 150,000? If you're making a pretty decent living, go on tour. Sell your merch, find a different way, because then now we're collecting for you, and you're sort of in debt, and you're still in the same place. So
Mm.
I think publishing deals are really helpful when you're kind of further down the line, or when there are moments where you spot somebody who's just exceptional, and they don't want to just be an artist, they want to write for other people.
Mhm.
And it's okay. It doesn't really matter how many followers or anything like that. But if you're an artist, it's not. I don't personally think it's a good idea to sign a publishing deal in the beginning.
See, that's the break it down information we're
There is,
looking for, right? Because people, I
yeah.
mean, it's true. People don't know not everybody knows when to engage where in the industry, right? They're making music. They don't know, when do I need a publisher? When do should I work with a label? Should I, and where it all kind of crosses in and out of each other, and who does what. So I think that kind of stuff is really great for people who are learning that. I mean, obviously, the people at the level that you're going to be working with already know that, and they, because they don't need a publisher yet. But I definitely think that they do need to understand where, when to blow up your email and when not to. If they're just not there yet, then how do you nicely let them know? Do you just say, so like you mentioned, I may not be the right advocate for you, or maybe once you reach this other level, then would be more appropriate to work together, or like, how do you address that kind of thing? Or do you just let that go for a minute and make sure you check out their music first? I mean, like, how do you handle, I guess it's kind of rejection is what I'm getting at, to let people know where they stand?
Yeah. Well, any good songwriter knows that rejection is normal. You're going to get way more no's than you're probably going to get yeses. And that's the main thing you have to prepare. If you get one no, again, it's giving up. People that kind of say, oh, okay, well, 3 people told me it's not that good. Well, then you have an option. You can get better and keep going, or maybe those 3 people weren't your people, right? But it really depends on what you're doing. If you're writing music for yourself, I say put it out, right? When it comes to listening to things, again, a really great songwriter. Sometimes I feel like some people, not a great artist, really great songwriter. And I don't have a problem telling people that, because I think, again, it's someone who's meant to be great and make money from their songwriting and have a really long career is going to have to get used to hearing the opinions of others. That's just kind of how it works. And I see it like you don't need a record label or anybody. It's such a wonderful time where Facebook ads and Instagram ads, they don't really cost that much. You can do a lot with $25 and it's just kind of taking time to make the music. There's so many programs that make album covers for you, whether it's Canva or, I just think everybody has to be creative. We all have iPhones and they shoot videos and pictures, and, some of the most creative videos are people that made them on their own at home with no money. And we met with a young lady recently, a songwriter, who said, I pulled over on the side of the road, the lighting was really amazing, and we shot this thing, and it was really creative. And she had a really great editor. But I just think it's being creative and writing the music and putting it out. And people will find it, or sometimes they won't. Sometimes people are, maybe it's not the right, you're not meant for this, and that's okay too. I don't like to tell people that they're not meant for something, because I think even the not so great songwriters can get really great. There's a guy that I met on Twitter, maybe 10 years ago, who was just kind of tweeting me and asking questions, and I got on the phone with him, and I hear these days he signed to Cobalt, and he's a really prolific writer and doing really well. And I think it's just him being persistent. When I first heard his songs, they were not that great. They were beginner. They were just okay. And him taking everybody and listening to the people that he talked to, he got better. And then people started to take to notice. So once you get someone to listen, you can get them to listen again. And if they say, hey, come back when you're better, then come back when you're better, and they'll take a listen again, because it's really nice to hear somebody take your advice and get better. And I kind of love that and encourage that and cheer that on. So a rejection to me is like, it doesn't mean that it's like, don't ever call me again, this is horrible, and go get a day job. No, it's work on this. This is a little bit too raw. It could be refined, and and people can get better. So that's what I like to do is encourage people, because you never know. You just never know who could be the next big huge writer, and you've told them they're terrible. So
Yeah, it's kind of a not right now instead of a no, right? It's just, work on yourself. And I think being honest with people is actually a gift to them. They can take it or leave it if they want, but just being able to have somebody at your level give them any advice. I think that has a value, and people can use that if they're not getting defensive or putting their ego ahead of themselves. They can use that to get better. And so the more that you can give them real tips, or like you said, it sounded too raw in this area, that those are specific things. That shouldn't be something that people feel like they take a personal offense to. It's literally very specific advice that can help them take it to the next level. And if they approach it in that way, then and try that, to improve in those areas, they can go to the next level. And otherwise, people don't want to work with people who are completely closed off to suggestions.
True.
So it's like, if you're going to be working with me, you're going to need to hear that, and be able to hear that, be able to take that in, and I think this is something that translates into every area of life, right? Like, how open are we to other people's suggestions, and to the idea that they may have, something to offer, a value that goes beyond where we're at in that area, or that's just a different perspective, and differences can help expand us. And so I think that's cool that you're so open with them and able to give them the honest truth, and in the kind of with heart, with that of saying, look, I'm wanting you to succeed. Ultimately, I'm being encouraging about it. It's not just to tell you your stuff sucks. It's to tell you where you can improve so that you can come back to me with better material, and we can possibly work together again.
Hey, we've had you for just about an hour. I want to make sure we give you a chance to have last word on this whole thing, because it's been great. It's been great talking to you about that. I have a really quick question is, when you are getting close to that level where you need a publisher, maybe you're getting phone calls inbound and you're like, gosh, it would be great to go back to playing music instead of managing contracts with Ford and McDonald's or whoever's calling you. How do you know when you need to start going to Roc Nation? Like, what level is that look like? And then how hard is the music industry? Like, one of the first guys we had on the show was Sly Stone, and he said, if my music isn't good enough, I don't deserve to eat. And I always think that that's the guy you're competing with ultimately, right? Someone out there who will, like Prince, stay up for days on end just making music. And if you're not prepared to really do that, can you make a living doing that? So kind of take those two things and put them together and answer, and then whatever else you want to say at the end. Thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been great.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. This is really cool. I think that there's hard work, and then there's quality and there's quantity. I signed a guy recently who was just absolutely amazing, and he is super slow. He's not the guy that's going to crank out 10 songs in a month, or we have people that can do about 4 to 5 songs a week. That's not him. We're probably going to get 3 really good quality, high level professional songs out of him. So I always think it's quality. You'll know when, a few things happen. I think if you're getting licenses, there's a collection process with licensing that's different than your song being played on the radio. But really, it's when your song goes to radio. It's kind of in the streaming process. There's still, the MLC is collecting that, and you have your ASCAP and BMI rights. But when you're going to the radio, you're also, you could be having, if you're having success in another country where you're not familiar with their collection process, or you're seeing, a lot of streams, one thing, 1 million streams is not really enough to say, oh yeah, it's time for a publisher now. If you're getting 1 million streams and all of the money is coming to you and you've actually put it out, that's great. If you're seeing it go to radio in another country or over here, then that's when you're kind of knowing, hey, it might be time for me to to talk to publishers. But up until that point, you're not really going to, all the money's going to go to wherever you are collect, at source, wherever you're collecting from with your DSP. So I hope that helps out. But keep making music and don't give up if you're out there.
Yeah, that's so good. Stand by. I'm going to shut this thing down.
Hey, thanks for watching the show. I really appreciate it. Right here, you can subscribe. Please do that. It makes the show grow. Hit that notification bell so you know which incredible guest is coming up next. Down below is the PayPal link. You can put a small subscription in. That is an enormous help. All that money goes right back into the show. And then right up over here are the next episodes you should listen to, curated by yours truly.